What was the last decision you made? I don't mean what you decided to have for lunch or which show to stream last night. I mean a real decision. A decision about your career, your relationships, your life. The kind of decision that carries weight. Now, I want you to ask yourself a second, more important question. A question that might feel a little uncomfortable. Who were you trying to please when you made it? Was it for you? Truly, 100% for you? Or was there a quiet, nagging voice in the back of your head calculating the reaction, wondering what your parents would think, how your partner would respond, what your friends might say, what your boss would assume, what a crowd of nameless, faceless people on the internet might judge? If you're hesitating, if you feel a slight knot in your stomach just thinking about it, then I want you to know you are in the right place. Because right now, you are standing at a doorway. On one side is the life you've been living, your first life. A life spent on a stage, performing for an audience you can't see, following a script you didn't write, all in the desperate hope of hearing applause. On the other side of that door, that's your second life. A life where the only applause you need comes from within. A life of freedom, authenticity, and quiet, unshakable power. This book is the key to that door, and it all begins with understanding the prison you don't even realize you're in. We're going to call it the approval trap. The approval trap is that exhausting, endless treadmill of trying to be the right person for everyone else. It's the chameleon-like way you shift your personality to fit the room. It's the hollow feeling in your chest when you receive a compliment for something that doesn't feel like the real you. It's the white-hot panic that seizes you when you think someone might be upset with you. It's biting your tongue when you want to speak up. It's saying yes when every fiber of your being is screaming no. It's the constant, low-grade anxiety of scanning every face, every email, every text message for signs of validation or rejection. Living in the approval trap is like being the CEO of a company where your only metric for success is a customer satisfaction survey, and the customers are everyone else in the world. You have no mission statement of your own, no core values. Your entire operation is reactive, constantly changing course to meet the shifting demands of the market. And you, the CEO, are utterly exhausted. You're heading for a complete burnout, running a business with no soul. Your own business, your own life. Now, the most important thing you need to hear right now is this. This is not your fault. Let me repeat that, because it's the foundation for everything we're about to build. The fact that you are stuck in the approval trap is not a sign of weakness. It is not a character flaw. It is not a moral failing. It is a sign that your brain is working perfectly. The problem is, it's working perfectly based on a program that is 100,000 years out of date. You're running ancient, tribal software to navigate the complexities of the modern world. And this outdated software is the single greatest obstacle standing between you and your second life. To understand this, we need to take a quick journey back in time. Picture your distant ancestors living on the savannah. Their world was incredibly dangerous. Predators lurked in the tall grass, resources were scarce. The nights were dark and cold. What was the single most important factor for their survival? It wasn't being the strongest or the fastest. It was the tribe. Being part of a group meant protection, shared food, and help raising children. To be accepted by the tribe was to live. To be cast out, to be rejected, was a death sentence. There were no second chances, no other towns to move to. Banishment meant facing the wilderness alone. It meant almost certain death. So over thousands of generations, our brains evolved a powerful, non-negotiable survival instinct, secure social approval at all costs. A hypersensitive alarm system was built directly into our neurobiology, a system designed to detect even the faintest hint of social disapproval, A disapproving glance from a tribal elder, being left out of a group conversation around the fire, these weren't just social slights. To your ancient brain, they were mortal threats. This system is governed by a small, almond-shaped part of your brain called the amygdala. Think of the amygdala as your brain's primal alarm bell. It's the part of you that's always scanning the horizon for danger. It doesn't use logic, it doesn't care about nuance. It operates on a simple, binary code: safe or unsafe, life or death. When the amygdala perceives a threat, it triggers an instantaneous, powerful, and unconscious reaction. It floods your body with hormones like adrenaline and cortisol, the stress hormone. Your heart rate quickens, your breathing becomes shallow, your muscles tense up. This is the famous fight or flight response. It was fantastically useful for helping your ancestor jump out of the way of a saber-toothed tiger. Here's the critical part. That same ancient alarm system, the one hardwired to equate social rejection with death, is still active within you right now. Your world has changed, but your brain's basic wiring has not. So today, when your boss sends you a one-word email that just says urgent, your amygdala doesn't see a simple request. It senses a threat. It screams, "The tribal leader is displeased. We are in danger." When you post a photo online and it doesn't get as many likes as you'd hoped, your amygdala doesn't see meaningless digital data. It whispers, "The tribe is ignoring you. You are being cast out." When you're about to say no to a request from a friend, your amygdala pulls the emergency brake and floods you with panic, yelling, "Don't do it. Don't risk the conflict. It's not safe." This is the neurological hijacking that keeps you trapped. Your logical, modern brain, the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for rational thought and long-term planning, knows that an unanswered text message is not a life-or-death situation. It knows that a colleague's passive-aggressive comment is not a predator. But the amygdala is older, faster, and has a direct line to your body's emergency response system. In a battle between primal fear and modern reason, fear almost always wins. It gets the first say, and its voice is deafening. Living this way, day in and day out, comes at a devastating cost. Let's be brutally honest about what this outdated programming is costing you. First, there's the chronic anxiety. It's that constant humming background noise of worry, a low-grade state of fight or flight that never quite turns off. You are perpetually braced for impact, scanning for the next potential sign of disapproval. This isn't just mentally draining, it's physically corrosive. Sustained high levels of cortisol weaken your immune system, disrupt your sleep, and contribute to a whole host of health problems. You are literally making yourself sick trying to please everyone. Second, there's the decision paralysis. When your primary goal is to avoid disapproval, making a choice becomes a monumental task. Every option has to be weighed against an impossible matrix of other people's potential reactions. So you procrastinate, you overthink, you ask for a dozen opinions, not for guidance, but for permission. You end up choosing the safest option, the one least likely to make waves, which is almost never the option that aligns with your own authentic desires. Your life becomes a series of defensive moves instead of a joyful, forward-moving pursuit. And perhaps the most tragic cost of all is the slow, silent erosion of your own identity. When you spend your life trying to be who you think others want you to be, the real you gets buried. You become a collection of curated personality traits, a mosaic of other people's expectations. Your voice gets quieter, your instincts get duller. You might even wake up one day, look in the mirror, and have the terrifying realization that you don't know the person looking back at you. You don't know what you actually like, what you actually believe in, or what you actually want out of this one precious life. You've performed your role so well for so long that you've forgotten who you are when the curtain comes down. This is the reality of the first life. It's a life of quiet desperation, painted over with a smile. It's a cage with no bars, a prison of your own mind's making. But here is where the hope comes in. Here is where your second life begins. The very same feature of your brain that created these deep automatic pathways of approval seeking is the exact feature that will allow you to escape. It's a concept known as neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the revolutionary, scientifically proven understanding that your brain is not a fixed hardwired machine. It is a dynamic, living system that is constantly reorganizing itself based on your thoughts, behaviors, and experiences. Think of your current approval-seeking habits as a well-worn path through a forest. You've walked it so many times. Every time you held your tongue, every time you said yes when you meant no, every time you checked your phone for validation, that it has become a deep, wide, easy-to-follow rut. Your brain, which is designed to be efficient, will naturally and automatically take this path of least resistance. But neuroplasticity means you have the power to create a new path. Every time you make a conscious choice to act from a place of self-approval instead of fear, you are like a pioneer stepping into the woods with a machete. The first step is the hardest. The branches snap back in your face. The way is unclear. Your brain, your amygdala, will scream at you to go back to the old, familiar, safe path. But if you take that step, and then another, and another, you begin to clear a new trail. With repetition, that trail becomes a path. With more repetition, that path becomes a road. And eventually, this new road, the road of self-validation, of authenticity, of internal authority, becomes so wide and well-paved that it becomes your new default. The old path of approval-seeking, now unused, begins to grow over. It becomes harder and harder to even find. This is not a metaphor. This is a biological reality. You can physically change the structure of your brain. You can weaken the neurocircuits that trigger social anxiety and strengthen the circuits that connect you to your own inner compass. You have the ability to upgrade your own software. This is the key. Understanding the trap, understanding that your need for approval is a biological echo from a bygone era, is the first, most crucial step in disarming it. You can't fight an enemy you don't understand. And this isn't even an enemy. It's just an outdated system. You don't have to hate it. You don't have to resent it. You just have to recognize it for what it is and decide, consciously, that you will no longer let it be the master of your life. In the chapters to come, we will go deeper. We're going to put this trap under a microscope. We'll examine the precise chemicals, the addictive dopamine hits, and the stressful cortisol floods that keep you hooked. We will unmask the internal judge that perpetuates the cycle. And most importantly, I will give you the specific tools, the practical step-by-step techniques to begin forging that new neuropath starting today. For now, I want you to sit with this one life-changing idea. Your constant search for approval isn't you. It's your programming. And you are the programmer. You have the power to write a new code. A code for freedom. A code for authenticity. A code for your second life. Your work begins now. Have you ever felt it? That little buzz? It happens when you post something online and the notifications start rolling in. A little red heart, a thumbs up, a positive comment. For a fleeting moment, the world feels right. You feel seen, acknowledged, validated. It's a tiny, digital hit of sunshine. Or maybe you feel it at work. Your boss singles you out in a meeting to praise your contribution. In that instant, the stress of the project melts away, replaced by a warm glow of pride and security. You feel like you belong. You feel valuable. This feeling, this warm, satisfying glow, is not just an emotion. It's a chemical event happening inside your brain. It's a rush of a powerful neurotransmitter called dopamine. And understanding dopamine is absolutely critical to understanding why the approval trap has such a vice-like grip on you. Dopamine is often called the feel-good chemical, but that's a bit of an oversimplification. More accurately, it's the molecule of motivation and reward. It's what tells your brain, hey, that was good, do that again. Back on the savannah, dopamine was the chemical reward for doing things that promoted survival. Finding a source of fresh water, a hit of dopamine. Discovering a tree full of ripe fruit, a hit of dopamine. Successfully cooperating with your tribe to achieve a goal, a huge, satisfying flood of dopamine. It's the brain's internal carrot motivating you to repeat behaviors that keep you alive and thriving. Now, let's bring this back to the modern world. Your brain, with its ancient survival software, hasn't reclassified what it deems important for survival. As we established in the last chapter, social acceptance is still coded in your DNA as a top-tier survival priority. So, when you receive a signal of social approval, a like, a compliment, a word of praise, your brain interprets it the same way it once interpreted finding a patch of life-saving berries. It releases dopamine, and it feels good. But here's where the trap gets insidious. Dopamine isn't just about feeling pleasure in the moment. It's about creating a craving for the next time. The dopamine system is designed to make you seek, to anticipate, to want more. Think about the notification icon on your phone. The anticipation you feel before you tap it? That's your dopamine system firing up, predicting a potential reward. The tech companies who designed these apps know this better than anyone. They have engineered their platforms to be perfect dopamine delivery systems, creating what are known as variable reward schedules. A variable reward schedule is what makes a slot machine in Las Vegas so addictive. You pull the lever and you don't know if you're going to get nothing, a small payout, or the jackpot. It's the unpredictability that keeps you hooked. Your phone operates on the exact same principle. You post something. Maybe it gets 1 like, maybe it gets 100. Maybe a comment you've been waiting for will finally appear. You don't know, so you keep checking. You pull the lever again and again and again. Each check is a gamble, a microdose of anticipation, keeping your dopamine system on a hook. You are, in a very real neurological sense, becoming an addict. And your drug of choice is the approval of others. This chemical addiction keeps you tethered to your first life. It makes you value the shallow, fleeting validation of strangers over the deep, lasting satisfaction of your own authentic expression. You find yourself subtly, or not so subtly, altering your behavior to get a better hit. You post the photo that you think will get the most likes, not the one that captures a truly meaningful moment. You craft the comment in a meeting that you think will make you sound smart to the boss, not the one that expresses your genuine, messy, but potentially brilliant idea. You are constantly tweaking the formula, chasing the next dopamine rush, becoming a scientist of your own validation. But what happens when the validation doesn't come? What about the other side of this chemical coin? This is where we meet dopamine's dark partner, cortisol. If dopamine is the chemical carrot, cortisol is the chemical stick. As we touched on before, cortisol is your body's primary stress hormone. It's released by your adrenal glands in response to a signal from your amygdala, your brain's primal threat detector. Cortisol's job is to get you ready to face a danger. It sharpens your focus, pumps sugar into your bloodstream for quick energy, and dials down non-essential functions like digestion and your immune system. In a short-term, acute crisis, like slamming on the brakes to avoid a car accident, cortisol is your best friend. It saves your life. But for someone living in the approval trap, the danger is constant. The perceived threats are everywhere. A text message left on read, a friend who seems a little distant, the possibility that someone, somewhere, is displeased with you. Every one of these moments is a potential trigger for your ancient amygdala. It screams, danger, social rejection imminent, and signals for the release of cortisol. So, instead of experiencing cortisol in short, useful bursts, you are marinating in it. You are living in a state of chronic, low-grade stress. It's a perpetual, physiological state of emergency. Let's break down what that actually feels like. A cortisol flood is the feeling of your stomach dropping when you hear criticism. It's the racing heart you get before a difficult conversation. It's the tense shoulders and shallow breathing you experience when you feel you're being judged. It's that sleepless night you spend replaying an awkward social interaction over and over in your head. Your mind frantically trying to solve a threat that your logical brain knows is minor. This experience is deeply unpleasant for a reason. Your brain is designed to avoid it. Your internal programming screams, "This feeling is dangerous. This is the feeling of being cast out of the tribe. Avoid this feeling at all costs." And so, a vicious cycle is born. You do something to seek approval, and if you get it, you're rewarded with a temporary hit of dopamine. Your brain learns approval equals pleasure and safety. Then you face disapproval or even just the absence of approval, and your system is flooded with cortisol. Your brain learns disapproval equals pain and danger. Dopamine pulls you forward, cortisol pushes you from behind. You are caught between a chemical craving and a chemical fear. The desire for the dopamine hit from a yes and the desperate need to avoid the cortisol spike from a no becomes the primary engine driving your life. Your decisions are no longer about what is right for you, what aligns with your values, or what will lead to your long-term fulfillment. They become about managing your internal chemistry. They become about getting your next fix and avoiding the painful, terrifying feeling of withdrawal. Think of it like this. Imagine your sense of self-worth is a bucket. For someone living a second life, that bucket is filled from the inside. Their actions, their integrity, and their commitment to their own values consistently keep the bucket full. They are their own source. But for someone in the approval trap, the bucket has a hole in the bottom. It can't hold anything on its own. The only way to feel full is to constantly seek validation from external taps. Praise from your boss, likes on social media, compliments from your partner. Each drop of approval is a dopamine hit that temporarily raises the level in the bucket. But because of the hole, it drains out almost immediately, leaving you feeling empty and anxious again, needing another hit. Meanwhile, criticism or disapproval isn't just a drop that misses the bucket. It's someone actively kicking the bucket over, flooding your system with cortisol and leaving you feeling exposed, worthless, and desperate. Is it any wonder you spend all your energy running from tap to tap, terrified of anyone who might kick your bucket? It's an exhausting, unsustainable way to live. You are outsourcing the most critical job you have, validating your own existence, to the whims of an unpredictable and often indifferent world. The first step in breaking this cycle is simply to become aware of it, to develop what I call neurochemical mindfulness. This isn't about judging yourself or trying to force yourself to feel differently. It's about becoming a curious observer of your own internal state. The next time you find yourself compulsively checking your phone after a post, I want you to pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, what am I really looking for right now? Acknowledge the craving, label it. Ah, there it is. That's my brain looking for a dopamine hit. By simply naming it, you create a sliver of space between the impulse and your reaction. You move from being a passenger on a runaway train to being an observer on the platform, watching the train go by. The next time you feel that hot flush of panic because you have to say no to someone, I want you to pause. Place a hand on your chest, feel your heart beating, and say to yourself, this is a cortisol reaction. My amygdala perceives a threat. It's an old survival signal. It feels real, but it is not a true emergency. By identifying the cortisol flood for what it is, a biological process, not a factual report on your self-worth, you begin to strip it of its power. You can let the chemical wave wash over you and through you, knowing that it will pass, instead of letting it sweep you away. This is not easy, especially at first. Your brain has been running this program on autopilot for your entire life. These chemical reactions are instantaneous and powerful. But remember neuroplasticity. Every single time you notice the dopamine craving and choose not to act on it, you are weakening that neural pathway. Every time you feel the cortisol fear and choose to sit with the discomfort instead of immediately capitulating to please someone, you are building a new muscle. You are teaching your brain a new way to be. You are showing your ancient primal amygdala through repeated experience that you can survive disapproval. You can say no and the world doesn't end. You can post something that gets 0 likes and you do not, in fact, get cast out into the wilderness to die. You are providing your brain with new data, and with enough new data, your brain will begin to update its own software. The alarms will start to ring less often and less loudly. In the next chapter, we're going to go even deeper. We're going to meet the internal voice that acts as the ringmaster of this entire chemical circus, your inner critic. We'll expose it for what it is and begin to dismantle its authority over you. For now, your only task is to observe. Pay attention to the push and pull of the dopamine and cortisol in your daily life. See how it influences your choices, your moods, your anxieties. Don't fight it, don't judge it, just watch it. Because by simply shining the light of your awareness on this hidden chemical dance, you are taking the first, most powerful step toward becoming the choreographer of your own mind. You are starting the process of freeing yourself from the chemical trap and stepping toward the door of your second life. Who is the harshest, most relentless critic you know? Take a moment and really think about that. Who is the one person whose judgment you fear the most? The one whose voice can cut you down, expose your deepest insecurities, and make you feel like an imposter with just a few choice words. Is it a demanding parent? A hypercritical boss? A judgmental friend from your past? The truth is, while those people are certainly real, they are only echoes. They are guest speakers. The main event, the headline act, the critic who has a 24/7 all-access pass to your mind is you. Or rather, a part of you. There is a voice in your head. You know the one I'm talking about. It's the voice that speaks up right after you have a moment of excitement or inspiration. It's the one that replays your most embarrassing moments on a loop right as you're trying to fall asleep. It's the one that, just before you're about to take a risk, whispers, "Who do you think you are? You don't have what it takes. They're all going to laugh at you." This voice is the ghost in your machine. It is your inner critic, and it is the single most powerful enforcer of the approval trap. If the need for approval is the prison, your inner critic is the warden, pacing the corridors of your mind, making sure you never even think about escaping. It's a master of psychological warfare. It knows every one of your weaknesses because it was there when they were formed. It has a photographic memory for every failure, every mistake, and every rejection you have ever experienced. It uses your own memories as weapons against you. Think about its tactics. Before you even have a chance to seek external approval, your inner critic is already there, running a simulation of the worst-case scenario. You think about applying for a promotion, and the critic immediately chimes in. "Don't even bother. You're not qualified. Sarah from accounting is much better for that role. You'll just embarrass yourself." You think about sharing a creative idea in a meeting, and the critic scoffs. "That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Keep your mouth shut before everyone realizes you're an idiot." You feel a spark of connection with someone new, and the critic sneers. "They're just being nice. If they knew the real you, they'd run for the hills." Notice what's happening here. The critic preemptively attacks you to prevent you from taking any action that might lead to potential external disapproval. It generates the pain of rejection internally, right now, to save you from the possibility of feeling it later. It activates that cortisol flood we talked about in the last chapter all by itself. It's a preemptive stress response. Your heart races, your stomach churns, your confidence evaporates, all without anyone else even being in the room. And it works. Over time, you learn to avoid the critic's lashings by simply playing smaller. You stop raising your hand. You stop speaking your mind. You stop taking risks. You stay safely within the tiny, prescribed circle of what you know is acceptable, because stepping outside of it means facing the wrath of your own internal warden. The critic's goal is to keep you so preoccupied with the internal battle that you never even make it to the external battlefield. It ensures you seek approval by making the alternative, self-generated shame, absolutely unbearable. So where did this monstrous saboteur of a voice come from? Were you born with it? Is it a fundamental, unchangeable part of who you are? Absolutely not. And this is the most liberating truth you can possibly hear. Your inner critic is not you. It is a construct. It is a program that has been installed in your mind. Remember neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and rewire itself? Well, the inner critic is a product of negative neuroplasticity. Think of your brain as a field of fresh snow when you were a child. Every experience created a track. A kind word from a teacher created one kind of track. A harsh criticism from a parent created another. A moment of being laughed at by other children on the playground carved a particularly deep and painful track. Your inner critic is the voice that memorized all of those negative tracks. It's an echo chamber, a composite character made up of every disapproving authority figure you've ever encountered. It's got your father's tone of disappointment, your third-grade teacher's look of impatience, the mocking laughter of the cool kids at school. Over years and thousands of repetitions, these external messages were repeated so often. They became internalized. Your brain, in its efficiency, took all these recurring external threats and created an internal avatar to represent them. It created the critic. This voice then carved its own neural pathway, a superhighway of self-doubt that is now your brain's default road for any situation involving risk or vulnerability. But here is the most surprising and crucial part of this entire story. Your inner critic, despite all the pain it causes, believes it is helping you. Its intention is not to destroy you. Its intention is to protect you. This sounds insane, I know. How could this voice that tells you you're worthless possibly be trying to help? We have to go back to that ancient tribal software. Remember, to your primal brain, rejection equals death. The inner critic is a deeply distorted, malfunctioning manifestation of that survival instinct. Its logic goes something like this. The world is a dangerous place. The tribe is judgmental. If I take a risk and fail, they will reject me, and I will be cast out and die. I cannot let that happen. So I will become the most brutal critic of all. I will point out every flaw before anyone else can. I will beat myself up so mercilessly that the sting of external criticism will feel like nothing in comparison. I will keep myself small, quiet, and safe so that I never ever risk that fatal blow of rejection from the tribe. Your inner critic is like a hyper-anxious, overbearing bodyguard who is convinced that the only way to keep you safe from getting mugged is to lock you in a closet and never let you out. It's using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. Its methods are cruel, its logic is flawed, and its understanding of the modern world is completely out of date. But its core intention comes from the deepest, most primal part of you that just wants to survive. Why is this realization so important? Because it changes everything. As long as you see the inner critic as an enemy to be fought, you will lose every time. Arguing with your critic, "No, I'm not stupid, that idea was actually good," is like wrestling with a ghost. You're fighting a part of your own mind. It drains your energy and, ironically, just reinforces the critic's neural pathway by giving it more attention. You can't win by fighting. You win by detaching. You win by realizing that its voice is not your voice. It is the voice of a program. It is the ghost in the machine, and you are the operator of the machine. You can learn to see it, hear it, and not obey it. The path to freedom begins with creating a space between your conscious awareness, the real you, and the automated, fearful chatter of the critic. Here is your first tool for doing that. It sounds simple, almost childishly so, but it is a profoundly powerful neurological hack. I want you to name your inner critic. That's it. Give it a name. It could be a bland name, like Nigel or Brenda. It could be a descriptive name, like the Judge or General Fear. It could be a silly, cartoonish name, like Mr. Gloomy Pants. The name itself doesn't matter. What matters is the act of naming. The moment you give it a name, you externalize it. You turn it from an all-encompassing me into a separate, observable it. It is no longer the fundamental truth of who you are. It's just Nigel, the anxious bodyguard, doing his thing again. Let's see how this works. You're about to walk into a party, and the familiar voice starts up. You look awkward. Everyone here is more successful than you. No one wants to talk to you. The old way is to believe it. You tense up, you feel shame, you retreat into a corner and pull out your phone. The new way is to pause, take a breath, and say internally, "Ah, there's Nigel, right on schedule. He's really worried about me fitting in tonight." Can you feel the difference? There's space, there's lightness. You haven't argued, you haven't fought. You've simply noticed. You've shifted from being the victim of the voice to being the observer of the voice. Now we add the second tool, which builds directly on the first. Once you've noticed the critic and named it, I want you to thank it for its concern. Again, this sounds counterintuitive. Why would you thank this source of torment? Because you are acknowledging its misguided intention. You are speaking to the frightened, primal part of the brain it represents, and you are reassuring it from a place of higher, conscious authority. You notice the critic's voice. You name it, and then you say something like, "Thank you, Nigel, for trying to keep me safe. I appreciate you looking out for me and wanting to protect me from rejection, but I'm the leader here. I'm in charge now. I've got this." This practice is revolutionary. It completely disarms the critic. It doesn't give it a fight to engage in. It calmly and assertively reestablishes who is in control. You are acknowledging the fear signal, the cortisol, without validating the critic's catastrophic story. You are telling your amygdala, "Message received, but I am not in mortal danger." You are using your prefrontal cortex, your rational adult mind, to soothe and regulate your primal brain. This is neuroplasticity in action. Each time you do this, you are choosing not to walk down that old, worn-out superhighway of self-criticism. Instead, you are beginning to pave that new neural path we talked about, the path of self-awareness, self-compassion, and internal authority. The inner critic has been the gatekeeper of your first life. It has been the one deciding which external opinions are so dangerous that you must silence yourself to avoid them. It has built the walls of your prison and patrolled them diligently. But you have just learned its secret. It's not an invincible monster. It's a scared, outdated security program. By learning to notice it, name it, and lead it, you are taking away its power. You are claiming the warden's keys for yourself. Now that we have started to manage the internal judge, our next step is to get radically clear on the external judges we have allowed to hold power over us. We need to conduct an audit of our own lives to see exactly whose applause we are so desperately seeking. And that is exactly what we will do in the next chapter. When you have that flash of fear, that sudden gut-wrenching worry that you've done something wrong or that someone is displeased with you, whose face do you see? When you're lying awake at night, replaying a conversation, cringing at something you said, whose imaginary judgment are you trying to defend yourself against? In the last chapter, we unmasked the ghost in your machine, your inner critic. We learned that it's an internal warden, a composite character of all the judgment you've ever faced. But a composite is made of real parts. An echo starts with a real sound. Your inner critic learned its script from somewhere. It had teachers, it had coaches, and those coaches, those original sources of judgment, are still holding immense power over you, whether you realize it or not. We are going to call these people your gatekeepers. A gatekeeper is any person, group, or even abstract idea whose approval you have unconsciously placed in charge of your own self-worth. They are the ones who hold the imaginary keys to your feelings of success, belonging, and adequacy. You have, without realizing it, given them the power to control your emotional state. A thumbs up from them and you get that delicious dopamine hit. A frown, a criticism, or even just silence, and your system is flooded with cortisol. The problem is, most of these gatekeepers operate in the shadows of your subconscious. You are constantly, automatically adjusting your behavior, your words, and your decisions to please them, but you may not have ever consciously identified who they even are. Living this way is like trying to navigate a maze in the dark. You keep hitting walls, feeling anxious and confused, without ever understanding the layout of the prison you're in. Today, we turn on the lights. We are going to conduct a full-scale investigation, an intervention. We are going to perform what I call the approval audit. The purpose of this audit is simple and ruthless: to drag every one of your gatekeepers out of the shadows and into the light of your conscious awareness. This process might feel uncomfortable, it might be surprising, but it is the single most critical step you can take to begin dismantling this external power structure and reclaiming your own life. If you can, find a place where you can pause and think. If you're driving, just do this in your mind. If you're at home, grab a pen and paper or open a new note on your phone. We are going to map out the architecture of your approval trap. We'll break it down into 4 key domains of your life. First, your career and work. Second, your family and upbringing. Third, your relationships and social life. And fourth, your self-image and lifestyle. Ready? Let's begin. Domain 1, career and work. This is a huge one for so many of us. Our work is tied to our survival, our status, and our sense of contribution. Let's identify the gatekeepers here. I want you to think about your current job or your career path. Now, ask yourself, whose opinion at work matters more to you than your own? Is it your direct manager? Do you find yourself obsessing over the tone of their emails, trying to read between the lines, your mood for the entire day hanging on a single word of praise or criticism from them? Write their name down. Is it a senior colleague, someone you admire, whose respect you crave? Do you hold back your own innovative ideas because you're afraid they won't think you're smart enough or experienced enough? Put them on the list. Perhaps your gatekeeper is more abstract. Is it the industry? Are you chasing a version of success, a job title, a salary, a specific company that you think will impress people you don't even know? Are you performing for the faceless crowd on LinkedIn, carefully curating an image of professional perfection? Write down the industry or LinkedIn connections. Now, let's go deeper. Think about the last time you felt like an imposter at work. That feeling of, I don't belong here, and any minute now they're all going to find out. Who is the they in that sentence? Get specific. Picture their faces. Whose judgment embodies that fear? Add them to your list. Finally, when you dream about your future career, whose definition of success are you using? Is it yours? Or is it the definition you inherited from a mentor, a professor, or even a parent who pushed you down a certain path? Be honest with yourself. Whose dream are you living at work? Take a look at the names you've just identified. These are the gatekeepers of your professional life. For now, just let them sit there on the page. We'll come back to them. Domain 2, family and upbringing. Now we move into more personal territory. For most of us, our very first gatekeepers were our parents or primary caregivers. Their approval was wired directly to our survival as children. As adults, many of us are still running that same childhood programming. Let's start with the obvious, your parents. Are you still, consciously or unconsciously, trying to win their approval? Think about your major life choices, your career, your choice of partner, where you live, how you raise your own children. Is there a subtle or not subtle calculation in your mind about what your mother or father will think? Do you find yourself either conforming to their expectations or, conversely, rebelling against them? Both are a reaction to their power. Whether you're obeying or defying, you're still letting them set the terms of the debate. Write down their names. And this applies even if they are no longer in your life, or even if they have passed away. Sometimes the most powerful gatekeepers are ghosts. You may be trying to please the memory of a parent, seeking a validation you can now never receive. Whose voice of disappointment or pride do you still hear in your head? Now, think beyond your parents. What about your siblings? Is there a lifelong competition for approval still playing out? Do you measure your success against theirs? Do you feel a need to impress them at family gatherings? What about your extended family? That one hypercritical aunt or the successful uncle whose respect you've always wanted. Often, a single powerful figure from our childhood can become a gatekeeper whose judgment we carry with us for decades. Take a hard look at the traditions and beliefs you hold. Are they truly yours? Or did you inherit them without question for fear of disapproving the family tribe? Your political views, your religious beliefs, your definition of a good life. How much of that have you consciously chosen, and how much have you accepted to maintain harmony and approval? This part of the audit can be painful. It requires a level of honesty that can feel like a betrayal. But you are not betraying them. You are liberating yourself. List the names. Identify the ghosts. Acknowledge the invisible forces that have been shaping your life from the inside out. Domain 3. Relationships and social life. When we leave our family of origin, we try to build a new tribe. But often, we just swap one set of gatekeepers for another. Let's start with your most intimate relationship, your partner. This is a tricky one, because a healthy partnership involves consideration and compromise. But there is a vast difference between healthy consideration and toxic approval seeking. Do you ever feel like you're walking on eggshells, afraid to voice a need or a desire for fear of upsetting your partner? Do you hide parts of yourself, your quirky hobbies, your true opinions, your past mistakes, because you believe they wouldn't approve of the real you? Do you find your own identity shrinking to better fit into their life? If so, your partner has become a gatekeeper. Write their name down. Now, think about your friends. Is there a leader in your friend group whose opinion seems to set the tone for everyone else? Do you find yourself laughing at jokes you don't find funny or agreeing with opinions you don't share just to maintain your status within the group? Consider the social invitations you accept. How many times have you said yes to a party, a dinner, or an event that you were dreading simply because you feared the social consequence of saying no? Your fear of missing out, or FOMO, is often just a disguised fear of being disapproved of. And what about the gatekeepers from your past? Is there an ex-partner whose imaginary judgment still affects your current dating life? Are you trying to prove something to them, to show them you're winning the breakup? Finally, who do you compare your relationship or social life to? Is it that perfect couple on Instagram? Is it a friend who seems to have 1,000 friends and a packed social calendar? Comparison is the act of making someone else the gatekeeper of your own happiness. List them all: the real, the imaginary, the digital. Domain 4. Self-image and lifestyle. This final domain is about the gatekeepers who govern how you feel about your body, your choices, and your very essence. Often, these aren't specific people, but powerful, abstract ideas. Start with your physical appearance. When you look in the mirror, whose eyes are you looking through? Are you judging your body based on the standards set by the fitness industry, by models on social media, by fashion magazines? Write down social media models or the beauty industry. When you choose an outfit, who are you dressing for? Are you wearing what makes you feel comfortable and authentic? Or are you wearing what you think a successful person, or a cool person, or a desirable person would wear? Now, think about your lifestyle. Your home, your car, the food you eat, the vacations you take. How many of your choices are driven by a genuine desire, and how many are driven by a need to project a certain image? Are you trying to keep up with the Joneses? If so, who are the Joneses for you? Specifically, a neighbor? A former classmate? Write them down. Think about the content you consume and the content you create. The books you display, the shows you talk about, the photos you post. Is there an element of performance there? A desire to be seen as intelligent, or worldly, or happy? This is often an attempt to win the approval of a vague, powerful gatekeeper we might simply call society or culture. This is perhaps the most insidious gatekeeper of all, that nagging sense of a collective, invisible audience, always watching, always judging. The audit forces you to give that audience a face, even if it's an abstract one. Okay, take a breath. Look at your list. Look at all those names, all those groups, all those ideas. This is your board of directors. This is the committee you have allowed to run your life. You have been living by a set of rules and expectations set by a chaotic, contradictory, and largely unqualified group of people. Now, let's analyze this list. This is where the power shifts. First, I want you to go through the list and ask this simple question for each name. Have they earned this power? Has this person demonstrated such wisdom, such integrity, and such unconditional positive regard for you that they have earned the right to dictate your emotional well-being? The answer for almost every name on that list will be a resounding no. Second, identify the ghosts. Circle any name on that list of someone who is no longer actively in your life, or whom you've never even met personally. A parent who has passed on, a high school bully, a celebrity, an influencer. Look at how much power you have given to a memory or a fantasy. You are letting your present and future be held hostage by a past that no longer exists. Finally, and most importantly, I want you to calculate the cost. For each gatekeeper, ask yourself, what has it cost me to seek their approval? Has it cost you your spontaneity, your creativity, your peace of mind? Has it cost you career opportunities? Has it cost you authentic connection in your relationships? Has it cost you the simple joy of being yourself? The truth is, you've been paying rent to have these people live inside your head. And the rent has been exorbitant. It has cost you your freedom. The simple act you have just performed, the act of naming your gatekeepers, is an act of revolution. It is an act of defiance. You have turned the bright, clarifying lights on the dark corners of your mind. You can now see the tangled wires of your programming, and once you can see the wires, you can begin to unplug them. You have been living in a house that you own, but you have been letting this chaotic collection of gatekeepers decorate the rooms, set the thermostat, and decide who gets to come and go. You've been a tenant in your own home. With this list, you have just drafted their eviction notice. The process of eviction is not instantaneous. It takes work. It takes courage. It takes building a new source of power so that you no longer need to borrow theirs. And that is precisely where we are going next. Now that you know whose approval you are going to stop seeking, we must build the one thing that can replace it, the unwavering, unshakable foundation of self-validation. We will begin to forge your inner compass, the tool that will guide you for the rest of your second life. If you were setting out on a journey into an unknown wilderness, what is the one tool you would want to have? You wouldn't want 1,000 different maps, each drawn by someone with a different opinion of where you should go. One map telling you to head for the mountains, another telling you the treasure is by the sea, a third insisting the only safe path is the one that never leaves the valley. That's chaos. That's the life you've been living, guided by the contradictory maps provided by the gatekeepers you identified in the last chapter. No, the one tool you would want is a compass. A compass doesn't tell you which destination to choose. It doesn't care about the opinions of others. It does one simple, miraculous thing. It points north. It gives you a reliable, internal, unwavering reference point, so that no matter where you are, no matter how lost you feel, you can always orient yourself. You can always find your own way. What if I told you that you could build such a compass inside your own mind? That is what this chapter is all about. We have spent the last 4 chapters deconstructing the prison of approval seeking. We've exposed the outdated brain wiring, the addictive chemistry, the internal warden, and the external gatekeepers. Now we begin the most important work of all. We are going to forge your inner compass. The practice of forging that compass is called self-validation. Now, let's be very clear about what self-validation is and what it is not. In a world obsessed with external metrics, the very idea of validating yourself can feel arrogant, selfish, or even narcissistic. This is a lie. This is a piece of propaganda distributed by a society that often benefits from your insecurity. Self-validation is not arrogance. Arrogance is a performance, a loud and brittle attempt to convince others of your worth. Self-validation is a quiet, internal state of being. It's the calm, centered knowledge of your own value, independent of praise or criticism. Self-validation is not narcissism. A narcissist is fundamentally empty, a black hole desperately trying to suck affirmation from the world around them. Self-validation is the opposite. It is about becoming your own source of energy, filling your own bucket so that you can engage with the world from a place of fullness, not from a place of need. Self-validation is quite simply the skill of being your own anchor in the emotional storms of life. It's the ability to generate your own sense of worth, to approve of your own choices, and to soothe your own fears without outsourcing that job to anyone else. It is the fundamental skill of your second life. And like any skill, it can be learned. It's not a personality trait you're born with. It is a neurological muscle that you can strengthen with practice. Let's look at the science of how this works. Remember our two key brain players? The amygdala, the fast, primal emotional alarm bell, and the prefrontal cortex, or PFC, the slow, logical, modern CEO of your brain. In a life of approval seeking, the amygdala is running the show. It's constantly scanning the social environment for threats, and at the first sign of disapproval, it hits the panic button, flooding you with cortisol. Your PFC is left scrambling to make sense of the chaos. Self-validation is the act of consciously asserting the PFC's authority over the amygdala. It is a direct intervention. Every time you practice self-validation, you are actively using your PFC to send a message down to your amygdala that says, "It's okay. We are not in mortal danger. I have assessed the situation and we are safe." This conscious act starts to build and strengthen a set of neural pathways between your PFC and your amygdala. Think of it like installing a high-quality braking system in a car that previously only had an accelerator. The more you use these new braking pathways, the stronger and more efficient they become. This is neuroplasticity in its most practical, life-changing form. You are literally rewiring your brain to be less reactive to external opinions and more responsive to your own internal authority. You are training yourself to find safety within rather than constantly seeking it without. So, how do we do it? How do we start building this muscle and forging this compass? I am going to give you 3 foundational techniques. I want you to start practicing these today. They will feel strange at first because you are carving a new path in the snow. But with consistency, they will become your new normal. Technique 1. Closing the loop. Have you ever finished a task at work or done something thoughtful for someone and then felt a kind of restless, incomplete feeling until someone else noticed and said, "Good job"? That feeling is an open loop in your brain's reward system. Your dopamine system is primed, waiting for an external trigger to deliver the reward. You've essentially outsourced the complete button on your own efforts. Closing the loop is the act of seizing that button for yourself. You become the one who provides the reward. Here's how it works. The next time you complete something, anything, from finishing a major report at work to finally cleaning out that closet, I want you to pause. Before you tell anyone, before you post about it, before you seek any external acknowledgement, you must pause. Close your eyes for 10 seconds. Take a deep breath. And internally, you are going to narrate the validation to yourself. Be specific. Don't just say, "Good job." Say, "I am proud of the focus I brought to that report. I was disciplined, I organized my thoughts clearly, and I created a high-quality piece of work." Or, "I feel so good that I finally tackled that closet. I honored the commitment I made to myself, and I've created a more peaceful space. This was for me." As you say these words to yourself, try to actually feel the feeling of satisfaction. Let the warmth of pride spread through your chest. What you are doing is revolutionary. You are teaching your brain to release its own dopamine based on your own assessment of your actions. You are creating a self-sustaining reward cycle. You are taking the tap that you've been begging others to turn on for you, and you are installing it directly inside yourself. This one practice, done consistently, can begin to break the addiction to external praise. Technique 2. Evidence-based self-talk. Our inner critic, as we've learned, is a master of vague, emotionally charged accusations. It doesn't use facts. It uses feelings. It says things like, "You're such a failure," or "You always mess things up." Our natural response is to either collapse under the weight of the accusation or to fight back with equally emotional, empty affirmations like, "No, I'm not." Neither works. Evidence-based self-talk is your PFC's secret weapon. It's about using logic, facts, and data to dismantle the critic's baseless claims. You are going to stop being the defendant in your own mind and start being the lawyer. The next time your inner critic, let's call him Nigel, launches an attack, you're going to cross-examine him. Nigel says, "You completely failed in that presentation today." You pause. You activate your inner lawyer. You ask calmly, "What is the specific evidence to support the claim that I was a complete failure?" Nigel might stammer and say, "Well, you stumbled over one word, and Bob from finance looked bored." Now you present your counterargument based on facts. You say, "Okay, I acknowledge that I stumbled over one word. That is a fact. Bob looking bored is a story I'm telling myself. I don't know what he was thinking." Now, what is the evidence against the claim of complete failure? Fact, I prepared for 5 hours. Fact, I covered all the key points I intended to. Fact, Susan from marketing came up afterward and said my data was incredibly helpful. Fact, the presentation was completed and the project is moving forward. Therefore, the evidence shows that while it was not a perfect presentation, it was far from a complete failure. It was, in fact, a success. Do you see the power in this? You are not engaging in a shouting match with your fear. You are methodically, calmly, and logically deconstructing it. You are using the most advanced part of your brain to regulate the most primitive part. Each time you do this, you weaken the critic's authority and strengthen your own conviction. Technique 3. Emotional sovereignty. The last technique is about validating your feelings. In our search for approval, we often don't even believe we have the right to feel what we feel until someone else gives us permission. We feel sad and we look for someone to say, "Oh, you have every right to be sad." We feel angry and we seek a friend to confirm, "I'd be furious too." Emotional sovereignty is the declaration of your right to your own emotional experience, full stop. It works like this. When an emotion arises, especially a difficult one like anger, jealousy, or sadness, your only job is to acknowledge and allow it without judgment. You might say to yourself, "I feel a wave of disappointment right now, and that is okay." Or, "I'm feeling angry about what happened, and it makes sense that I feel this way." That's it. You're not saying the emotion is a good guide for action. You're not saying you're going to lash out in anger. You are simply giving yourself permission to feel it. You are ending the internal war against your own feelings. So much of our anxiety comes not from the primary emotion itself, but from the secondary layer of judgment we place on it. "I shouldn't be angry. I'm so weak for feeling sad." Emotional sovereignty removes that second layer. It creates a space of radical self-acceptance. It says, my inner world is my territory, and whatever I am feeling is valid because I am the one feeling it. These three techniques, closing the loop, evidence-based self-talk, and emotional sovereignty, are the foundational practices for forging your inner compass. They are how you begin to fill your bucket from the inside. They are how you become your own source. This will not happen overnight. You are rewiring decades of mental habits. The inner critic will still show up. The craving for external validation will still appear. But now you have tools. You have a new path to choose. Every time you choose to close the loop instead of checking for likes, you take one more step down that path. Every time you use evidence to counter your critic, you pave it a little more smoothly. Every time you grant yourself emotional sovereignty, you build a resting place along the way. And slowly, almost without you noticing it, your default setting will begin to change. You will begin to look inward, not outward, for your sense of direction. Your inner compass will become stronger, more reliable. The winds of other people's opinions may still blow, but they will no longer be able to knock you off course. Because you will finally know, for the first time in your life, which way is north. With this growing internal stability, you are now ready to face the outside world in a new way. You're ready to take your inner compass and use it to navigate one of the most feared territories of all, setting boundaries. And that is where our journey takes us next. What is the most difficult two-letter word in the English language for a person caught in the approval trap? It's not a trick question. The word is no. Just thinking about saying it can trigger a full-body reaction. Your heart rate quickens, your stomach clenches, your palms might get a little sweaty. 1,000 catastrophic scenarios flash through your mind. They'll be angry. They'll be disappointed. They'll think I'm selfish. They won't like me anymore. This is your amygdala, your ancient threat detector, screaming at you. Based on its 100,000-year-old software, it equates the social friction of saying no with the primal danger of being cast out from the tribe. To your brain, saying no to a request for a favor can feel on a physiological level as dangerous as staring down a predator. So you don't say it. You say, I'll see, or let me check my calendar. Or, most often, you just swallow the lump in your throat and say yes when every cell in your body is begging you to say otherwise. Every time you do this, you avoid the short-term discomfort of potential conflict. But what is the long-term price you pay? The cost is resentment. It's a poison that builds up slowly. Every reluctant yes is another drop. You start to feel resentful of the person asking, even when their request is reasonable. More tragically, you start to feel resentful of yourself for your own inability to protect your time, your energy, and your peace. The cost is burnout. Your life becomes a testament to other people's priorities. Your calendar fills up with their needs. Your energy is depleted serving their agendas. You have nothing left for your own goals, your own rest, your own joy. You become a resource to be consumed, not a person to be lived. The cost is the loss of self. The more you say yes to things that are not aligned with your true desires, the blurrier the line becomes between who you are and what others want you to be. You forget what your own priorities even are. The signal from your inner compass, which we worked so hard to forge in the last chapter, gets drowned out by the noise of everyone else's demands. Living without boundaries is not a sustainable way of life. It's a slow-motion collapse. Today, we are going to change that. We are going to reclaim the word no. And we are going to do it by completely reframing what a boundary actually is. For most of your life, you have probably viewed boundaries as walls, as aggressive, confrontational tools for pushing people away. You think that setting a boundary means starting a war. This is the fundamental misunderstanding that keeps you trapped. A boundary is not a wall. A boundary is an instruction manual. It is a calm, clear, and loving guide you provide to the world on how to interact with you successfully. It's like the user manual that comes with a new piece of technology. The manual doesn't say, "I hate you, don't touch me." It says, "For optimal performance, operate within these parameters." Here is how to care for this device so it can function beautifully for years to come. Your boundaries are the user manual for you. They communicate your needs, your limits, and your values. They are not a rejection of others. They are an act of self-respect. They are a prerequisite for healthy, sustainable relationships. As the old saying goes, good fences make good neighbors. Fences don't exist to create hostility. They exist to create clarity. They prevent confusion, misunderstanding, and accidental trespassing. They allow each person to tend to their own garden, knowing exactly where their responsibility begins and ends. Once you can emotionally and intellectually accept this reframe, that a boundary is a tool for clarity, not for conflict, you can begin to work with the biological fear that arises when you try to set one. Remember that cortisol spike? The physiological panic? We are not going to fight it. We are going to retrain it. We are going to use the principle of neuroplasticity to provide your amygdala with new, updated information. We will prove to it through small, repeated experiences that saying no is not a life-threatening event. Think of it as a form of exposure therapy for your nervous system. You wouldn't treat a fear of heights by jumping out of a plane. You'd start by looking out a second-story window, then a third, then maybe standing on a balcony. We will do the same with boundary setting. We start small. We build the muscle. We gather data. Here is your first mission. For the next week, I want you to find one very low-stakes opportunity to say no or to state a preference. It has to be something that carries almost zero real-world consequence. For example, a coworker asks if you have a spare pen. Instead of automatically saying yes, you pause and say, "Oh, this is actually my last one. I'm sorry." That's it. A friend asks for a restaurant suggestion. Instead of trying to guess what they want, you state your preference. "I've really been craving Italian food lately." A cashier asks if you want to sign up for a store credit card. Instead of fumbling for an excuse, you take a breath, make eye contact, and say a simple, "No thank you." Each of these is a micro-rep for your boundary muscle. What happens when you do this? The other person says, "Okay," and they move on with their life. The world does not end. The tribe does not cast you out. You are not struck by lightning. In that moment of non-catastrophe, you are giving your brain powerful new data. You are sending a message to your amygdala that says, "See, the alarm was false. We stated a limit and we survived. We are safe." Each time you do this, you weaken the old neural pathway that equates no with danger, and you strengthen a new one that equates no with clarity and self-care. Once you get comfortable with these micro-no's, you can move on to slightly bigger boundaries. But to do that, you need a framework. You need a simple, repeatable formula you can rely on when you're feeling stressed. When the cortisol is rising, your prefrontal cortex, your logical brain, tends to go offline. A simple script can act as a lifeline, keeping your logical brain in the game. I call this the simple sandwich technique. It has 3 layers, though you will often only need the first 2. Layer 1. The connection slice. Acknowledge and validate. You start by acknowledging the other person's request or position. This is not agreement. It is simply validation. It shows that you have heard them, which immediately lowers their defenses and makes them more receptive to what comes next. It's a buffer of kindness. Examples. "Thank you so much for thinking of me for this project." "I really appreciate the invitation to the party." "I can see that this is really important to you." Layer 2. The core boundary. The clear no. This is the most important part. You must state your boundary clearly, simply, and without a long, rambling justification. Over-explaining is a classic symptom of approval seeking. You feel you have to build a bulletproof legal case for why your no is valid. You do not. No is a complete sentence. Your goal here is clarity, not a list of excuses. Examples: but I'm not able to take on any new projects right now. But I won't be able to make it. But I'm not comfortable discussing that. Notice the lack of vague language. Avoid "I don't think I can" or "I'll try to get back to you." Be kind, but be clear. Layer 3. The forward slice. Offer an alternative reassurance optional. This layer is optional, and you should only use it if it feels genuine and doesn't compromise your core boundary. It can be a way to reinforce the relationship while still holding your limit. You might offer an alternative solution, suggest another time, or simply reassure them of your connection. Examples: I'd love to be considered for the next round of projects when I have more capacity. I hope you all have a fantastic time. Let's make sure to catch up next week. While I don't want to discuss my finances, I am happy to talk about how my job is going. Let's put it all together. A friend asks you to help them move on a Saturday, but you are exhausted and had planned to use that day to rest and recharge. The old you would have felt the cortisol spike and immediately said yes, leading to a weekend of exhaustion and resentment. The new you takes a breath and uses the simple sandwich. Connection slice. Wow, thank you for trusting me enough to ask for help with your move. I know how stressful that can be. Core boundary. Unfortunately, I'm not available to help this Saturday. Forward slice. I'd love to bring you some pizza and help you unpack a few boxes on Sunday afternoon if that works. Either way, I'm so excited for you to be in your new place. Can you feel the difference? It's calm, it's respectful, it's clear. It is not aggressive. It is not a rejection of the person, it is simply a statement of your own capacity. You have honored your own need for rest while still showing you care about your friend. This is the art of the boundary. Practicing this will be a journey. There will be times when you default to your old programming. That's okay. The goal is not perfection, it's progress. Each time you successfully set a boundary, no matter how small, you are casting a vote for your second life. You are telling your brain and the world that you are the sole authority on how your time and energy are spent. But what happens when you set a clear, kind boundary and the other person doesn't like it? What happens when they push back, argue, or try to make you feel guilty? This is the moment of truth. This is when your new internal foundation is tested. When you stop playing your assigned role in the dysfunctional system of approval seeking, the system will push back. The people who benefited from your lack of boundaries will not be happy with the new user manual you've just published. Navigating this fallout, handling the pushback with grace and strength, and staying true to your inner compass even when the storm rages, that is one of the final and most crucial skills you must learn on the path to your second life. And that is exactly where we are going next. So, you did it. You took a deep breath. You used the simple sandwich. You stated a clear, kind, and firm boundary. And for a moment, there was silence. But then it came. The pushback. The disappointed sigh. The cold shoulder. The passive-aggressive comment. Or maybe the full-blown angry accusation. You're being selfish. I can't believe you're doing this to me. What's gotten into you lately? In that moment, every alarm bell in your nervous system starts screaming. The cortisol floods your body. Your ancient tribal brain flashes a red alert. Tribal conflict, rejection imminent, abort mission, retreat to safety, apologize and say yes. This is the moment of truth. This is the final exam of your first life. Everything we have worked on, understanding your brain, identifying your gatekeepers, forging your inner compass, has been preparation for this exact moment. Because how you respond when the world pushes back against your newfound self-respect will determine whether you remain free or get dragged right back into the approval trap. The first and most important thing you must understand is this. The pushback is not a sign that you did something wrong. It is a sign that you did something different. I want you to imagine the relationships in your life as a kind of ecosystem with unspoken rules and predictable patterns. In this ecosystem, you have played a specific role for a very long time. You have been the accommodating one, the reliable one, the one who always says yes. You have been, in essence, a public utility, a source of time, energy, and validation that others have come to rely on. When you set a boundary, you are not just changing your own behavior, you are unilaterally changing the rules of the entire ecosystem. You have announced without a formal memo that the utility is no longer open 24/7, and the people who have grown accustomed to the free and constant supply of your energy will be, at worst, confused, and at worst, outraged. Their reaction is not necessarily a reflection of their character. It is a reflection of their surprise and discomfort that the system has changed. A vending machine that has always given out free snacks and suddenly starts asking for money is going to get a few kicks and shoves. Your job is not to give in and go back to being free. Your job is to understand the tactics they might use to get the free snacks back and to hold your ground with grace and strength. Let's pull their playbook out into the open. When people resist your boundaries, they typically resort to one of 4 tactics from the Fallout arsenal. Tactic number 1, the guilt trip. This is the weapon of choice for the passive-aggressive boundary tester. It's designed to activate your old approval-seeking programming. It sounds like, oh, okay, I guess I'll just have to struggle through this all by myself then. Or, I thought I could count on you, but I guess I was wrong. The goal is to make you feel responsible for their disappointment. It's a direct emotional manipulation designed to trigger your empathy and flip it into a sense of obligation. Tactic number 2, the character assassination. This is a more direct and aggressive tactic. Instead of attacking the boundary, they attack you. They use labels to shame you back into compliance. You'll hear words like, "You're being so selfish. You've become really difficult lately. You're not the kind, caring person I thought you were." This is a direct attempt to trigger your fear of being seen as a bad person, which is a core fear for anyone stuck in the approval trap. Tactic number 3, the bargain and debate. This is for the logical manipulators. They will treat your boundary not as a statement, but as the opening offer in a negotiation. They will poke holes in your reasons. You said you're busy on Saturday, but what about Sunday morning or Saturday night? Why do you need the whole day? They will try to draw you into a long, exhausting debate, knowing that if they can wear you down, your resolve will crumble. They want to make holding your boundary so much work that it's just easier to give in. Tactic number 4, the cold shoulder. This tactic leverages your primal fear of being cast out. It's the silent treatment. It's delayed text replies. It's a sudden emotional distance. It's a non-verbal way of saying, your new behavior has resulted in the withdrawal of my approval and connection. To get it back, you must return to your old role. It is a quiet but incredibly powerful way to make you feel the panic of rejection. As you listen to these, you can probably picture specific people in your life who favor each tactic. Recognizing the playbook is the first step to not getting played. Now you need the strategy to respond. Your strategy is not to fight back. It is not to argue. It is not to defend. Your strategy is to become a calm anchor. I want you to picture the other person's reaction, their guilt trip, their anger, their debate, as a chaotic, emotional storm. The old you would have been a little boat, tossed around violently by their waves, desperately trying to calm the storm to save yourself. The new you is an anchor. You are solid. You are grounded in your own sense of self-worth and the validity of your own needs. The storm may rage around you, but it cannot move you. Your job is simply to hold. Here are the practical tools for being a calm anchor. Tool 1, the broken record. When someone is trying to debate or bargain with you, you don't need to invent new justifications for your boundary. You don't need to win the argument. You just need to calmly and kindly repeat your position. This short-circuits the debate tactic. Them, why can't you help me move? You don't even have plans. You, I understand you're disappointed, but I'm not available on Saturday. Them, but I really need you. It won't take that long. You, I know this is important to you, but I'm just not able to do it. Them, I can't believe you're being so selfish. You, I'm sorry you feel that way. My answer is still no. Tool number 2. Validate the feeling, not the demand. This is your primary defense against guilt trips and character assassinations. You can acknowledge their emotional state without taking responsibility for it or agreeing with their demand. This shows empathy, but does not compromise your boundary. Them, I guess I'll just have to struggle through this alone. You, it sounds like you're feeling really overwhelmed and alone right now. I'm sorry you're feeling that way. Pause. Do not offer to fix it. Them, you've become so selfish. You, I can hear that you're very angry with me and that my decision has upset you. Pause. Do not defend your character. You are validating their feeling. I hear that you're angry, but you are not validating their story. And you're right, I am a selfish person. This is a high-level skill. It allows you to stay connected to the person without being controlled by their emotions. Tool 3. Embrace the silence. Approval seekers are terrified of awkward silences. We rush to fill them, usually by apologizing or backpedaling on our boundary. Your new job is to learn to sit in the silence. After you've stated your boundary using one of the tools above, stop talking. Let the other person be the one to fill the space. Let them sit with your no. It is in this silence that your boundary truly solidifies. It is in this silence that your nervous system learns that the conflict, as uncomfortable as it is not fatal. You can withstand the quiet frost of someone's disapproval. Now, here is the most important and perhaps most difficult truth of this entire process. As you consistently hold your boundaries, some people will adapt. They will learn the new rules. They may not like them at first, but if they truly value their relationship with you, they will adjust. Your relationship will become healthier and more honest. But some people won't. Some people are in a relationship with your function, not with your soul. They are connected to the compliant, approval-seeking role you used to play. When you stop playing that role, they will see no more use for the relationship, and they will leave. This will hurt. It will feel like the ultimate rejection your primal brain has always feared. But I am here to tell you that this is not a tragedy. This is a triumph. The fallout from your new boundaries is not a disaster. It is a filter. It is a clarifying fire that burns away the relationships that were never built on a solid foundation of mutual respect. It is a process of curation. You are not losing people. You are making space. You are clearing out the dead wood to make room for new growth. You are creating a life where the people who are in it are the people who love and respect the authentic, boundaryful you, not the performing, people-pleasing you. The temporary pain of this filtering process is the price of admission to your second life. It is the courageous act that proves you are truly ready to live from the inside out. You are finally ready to stop auditioning for roles in other people's plays and to start writing, directing, and starring in your own. And once you are no longer making decisions based on avoiding disapproval, how do you make them? When the gatekeepers have been fired and the fallout has been weathered, what guides you? You must now learn to live by your inner compass, to build a life based not on external expectations, but on an internal blueprint. That is where we go now. For your entire first life, your decision-making process has been a complex and exhausting calculation. Faced with a choice, your brain would instantly transform into a high-stakes command center. It would run countless simulations, not to determine the best outcome for you, but to predict and mitigate the potential reactions of everyone else. It was a frantic, outward-facing process. What will they think? How will they react? Which choice is least likely to cause disapproval? Which option will win me the most validation points? The opinions of your gatekeepers, your parents, your boss, your partner, society, became the variables in an impossible equation you were constantly trying to solve. But now you've done the courageous work. You've fired that chaotic board of directors. You've learned to set boundaries. You've started to weather the fallout. And you might be standing in the newfound silence of your own mind, facing a new and unexpected problem. How do you decide what to do now? When you've spent your entire life navigating by a constellation of other people's expectations, what do you do when you finally look up and see a clear, open sky? It can be disorienting. You might feel a little lost, a little adrift. Your old navigation system is gone, and you haven't built the new one yet. This chapter is about building that new system. We are not going to leave you adrift. We are going to construct your personal internal guidance system, a tool so reliable and so perfectly calibrated to you that it will make your decisions clearer, calmer, and more powerful than ever before. We are going to build your authenticity blueprint. Think of this blueprint as the new operating system for your life. It replaces the old, buggy, approval-seeking 1.0 software. This new system doesn't run on the chaotic input of external opinions. It runs on three core internal components: your values, your intuition, and your mission. When you learn to consult this blueprint for every choice you make, big or small, you will finally start living a life that is a true expression of who you are from the inside out. Component 1. Your values, the why. Your values are the foundation of the entire blueprint. They are your personal north. They are the non-negotiable principles that define what is most important to you at your core. Living in the approval trap forces you to be a chameleon, to adopt the values of whatever situation you're in. Living an authentic life means consciously choosing your own values and using them as a resolute filter for your decisions. Most of us have never actually done this, so we're going to do it right now. I want you to find your top 3 to 5 core values. These aren't just nice-sounding words. They are the active drivers of a fulfilled life. To find them, think about these 2 questions. First, what were the moments in your life when you felt most alive, most proud, most deeply fulfilled? What were you doing? What was happening? Were you creating something? Were you connecting deeply with others? Were you exploring a new place? Were you mastering a skill? The experiences that light you up are signposts pointing directly to your values. Second, think about the moments that made you the most angry, frustrated, or resentful. Anger is often a sign that a core value is being violated. If you get furious when you see injustice, justice might be a core value. If you feel suffocated in a micromanaged job, freedom might be a core value. If you feel deep resentment when a friend is dishonest, integrity might be a core value. Now, from those memories, start identifying the words. Here are some examples: freedom, security, connection, creativity, growth, integrity, adventure, compassion, stability, impact, peace, mastery. Choose the handful that resonates so deeply in your bones that they feel like home. These are your values. Write them down. Say them out loud. This is your personal constitution. From this day forward, these values become your first checkpoint for any decision. You're offered a new job? You don't ask, will this impress people? You ask, does this role align with my core values of creativity and freedom? You're considering entering a new relationship? You don't ask, do my friends like this person? You ask, does this person's way of being support my values of integrity and connection? This simple check transforms decision-making from an emotional popularity contest into a logical process of alignment. An option is either in alignment with your values or it is not. The choice becomes exponentially clearer. Component 2, your intuition, the how. If values are the logical framework of your blueprint, intuition is its subtle, powerful energy source. For years, you have been systematically taught to ignore your intuition. Your gut feeling, that quiet inner knowing, was always overruled by the louder, more urgent need to please others. We are now going to learn to listen to it again. Intuition isn't some magical, mystical force. It is a biological reality. It is your body's highly sophisticated data processing system. Your brain is constantly taking in millions of bits of data from your environment, micro-expressions, tones of voice, subtle patterns, far more than your conscious mind can ever process. Your intuition or your gut feeling is the summary of that massive unconscious data analysis. It's the whisper from your body that says, hey, my analysis of a million tiny data points suggests this situation is good for us. Or, my analysis suggests there's a threat here that your logical mind hasn't caught yet. This often happens via the vagus nerve, a massive nerve that connects your brain to your gut, creating a literal gut-brain axis. The problem is, the signal of your intuition has been drowned out by the static of anxiety and the noise of other people's opinions. Your work now is to tune a radio back to the right station, and you do that with a simple practice I call the body scan check-in. Before you make a decision, after you've checked it against your values, I want you to find a quiet moment. Close your eyes. Take 2 deep breaths. Now, bring the choice to mind. Imagine you have already said yes. Live in that reality for 30 seconds, and then scan your body. What do you feel? Is there a sense of expansion, of lightness, of openness in your chest and shoulders? Does your breathing feel easy? This is the physical signature of a full-body yes. It's your intuitive system signaling alignment. Or, do you feel a sense of contraction, a knot in your stomach, a tightness in your throat, a subtle, heavy feeling of dread? This is the signature of a full-body no. It's your body's wisdom screaming that something is out of alignment, even if your logical mind can't see it yet. By consistently practicing this, you will become fluent in the language of your own body. You will build a powerful trust in its signals. Your values give you the why, and your intuition gives you the immediate, visceral, how does this feel? When both are aligned, you have found your path. Component 3, your mission, the what. The final piece of your blueprint is your mission. Now, don't let this word intimidate you. This isn't necessarily about saving the world or curing a disease, unless that's what you're called to do. A personal mission is simply a direction of travel. It's the answer to the question, what is the positive impact I want to have on my corner of the world right now? Your mission provides context for your values and intuition. It's the project you're working on in this current season of your life. It might be, my mission is to create a secure and loving home for my family. Or, my mission is to become a master of my craft. Or, my mission is to heal my body and mind. Or, my mission is to bring more joy and laughter into my community. A mission gives your daily decisions a sense of purpose. It answers the question, to what end? When you are clear on your mission, you can evaluate opportunities not just on their own merits, but on whether they move you closer to or further away from your goal. Let's put the whole authenticity blueprint together with an example. Imagine you're offered a promotion. It comes with more money and a more prestigious title, but it also means managing a difficult team and working much longer hours. The old approval-seeking 1.0 software boots up. The calculation begins. This looks good on paper. My parents would be so proud. My friends will be impressed. I should want this. You feel a mix of flattery and dread. Now, you stop. You close that old program, and you run the new one, the Authenticity Blueprint. 1. Values check. You look at your list of core values: freedom, connection, and peace. You ask, does this promotion align with my values? The answer is clear. The long hours directly contradict your value of freedom. The stress of managing a difficult team is a direct assault on your value of peace. The lack of time for your personal life violates your value of connection. This is a profound values mismatch. 2. Intuition check. You close your eyes and do the body scan check-in. You imagine accepting the job, sitting in your new office, dealing with the team's problems. Immediately, you feel a knot in your stomach and a tightness in your chest. Your body is screaming no. 3. Mission check. You reflect on your personal mission for this season of your life, which is to simplify my life and focus on my creative passions. This promotion is a massive step in the opposite direction. It adds complexity and drains the very energy you need for your creative work. The conclusion is undeniable. Despite the external prestige, this opportunity is wrong for you. And the decision to turn it down is not a fearful, anxious choice. It is a calm, powerful, and self-validating one. You are not rejecting an opportunity. You are affirming your own blueprint. You are choosing your own life. This is what it feels like to live from the inside out. It's not about being selfish or reckless. It's about having the integrity to live in alignment with your own truth. It's about building a life that feels as good on the inside as it might look on the outside. This blueprint is not a static document. It will evolve as you grow and change. But it is your anchor. It is your guide. It is the architect's plan for your second life. But what about other people? Does this new, internally driven life mean a life of isolation? Do we have to choose between authenticity and connection? The fear that you will end up alone is the last ghost that haunts the person escaping the approval trap. In our next chapter, we will turn on the lights and expose that ghost for what it is, but complete illusion. We will discover that true, deep connection is not the reward for pleasing others. It is the natural consequence of being yourself. Let's be honest about the one great fear that has been silently underwriting this entire journey. It's the question that echoes in the back of your mind every time you set a boundary, every time you choose your own values, every time you say no. It's this: if I stop being the person everyone wants me to be, won't I end up completely alone? This fear is the final gatekeeper. It is the last, most powerful defense mechanism of your first life. It's the primal terror of being cast out from the tribe, the ultimate threat your amygdala has been trying to protect you from all along. Your brain whispers a terrifying bargain: your authenticity or your connection. You can't have both. You can be yourself and be alone, or you can perform and be loved. For your entire life, you have chosen the second option. You have chosen to perform. Think about it. Your first life has been one long, exhausting performance. You've been an actor on a stage, playing a role you thought the audience wanted to see. You learned your lines, you hit your marks, you wore the right costume for every scene. You became a master of improvisation, shifting your character to please the friend who wanted a confidant, the parent who wanted a success story, the partner who wanted a perfect companion, the boss who wanted a compliant employee. And sometimes the audience applauded. You received praise, compliments, likes, and promotions. You got those addictive dopamine hits of approval. And in those moments, you might have felt a fleeting sense of connection. But was it real? Can a connection with an actor ever be real? The truth is, the connections you built in your first life were not with you. They were with your representative, with your ambassador, with your mask. And the applause you received was for a brilliant performance, not for the person behind the curtain. This is the profound, hidden tragedy of the approval seeker. You can be in a room full of people who claim to love you and feel a loneliness so deep it echoes. You feel like an imposter, a fraud, terrified that at any moment someone will see the real you behind the mask and the entire show will come crashing down. You can never truly relax because the performance is never over. You are working constantly, managing your image, editing your words, suppressing your true feelings, all to maintain the connection you so desperately crave. It is a connection built on a foundation of anxiety. Today, we are going to expose the great lie at the heart of that terrifying bargain. The choice was never between authenticity and connection. That was a false choice presented to you by your fear. The profound truth is this: authenticity is the only path to true connection. The performance you thought was necessary for you to be loved is the very thing that has been preventing it. To understand this, we need to draw a critical distinction between two words you've probably used interchangeably your whole life: fitting in and belonging. Fitting in is the goal of your first life. It's about assessing a situation, figuring out what the group wants, and then contorting yourself to become that thing. It is an outside-in process. It is changing who you are to be accepted. It is the definition of performing. Belonging, on the other hand, is the reward of your second life. Belonging is not about changing yourself. It's about being your full, authentic self and knowing that you are accepted and valued because of who you are, not in spite of it. It requires no performance, no contortion. It is the simple, profound, and deeply peaceful state of being seen. The desperate attempt to fit in everywhere is what has prevented you from belonging anywhere. So, how do we make this shift? How do we stop performing and start belonging? The key is a word that the approval seeker fears almost as much as the word no. The word is vulnerability. Now, your old programming hears vulnerability and thinks weakness. It imagines exposing your soft underbelly to a world full of predators. But this is a profound misunderstanding. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the most accurate measure of courage you can find. It is the act of showing up and being seen when you have no control over the outcome. It is letting your mask drop. Vulnerability is sharing a creative idea that might get shot down. It's admitting you don't know the answer. It's saying, "I love you," first. It's asking for help. It's sharing a true opinion instead of a popular one. It is, in essence, a small act of authenticity. Here's what happens on a biological level. When you offer a small piece of your authentic self to someone, when you are vulnerable, and they meet that vulnerability with empathy and understanding, a powerful neurochemical event occurs in both of your brains. It's not the frantic, needy hit of dopamine you get from approval. It's a flood of a different hormone entirely: oxytocin. Oxytocin is often called the bonding hormone or the cuddle hormone. It's the chemical that creates feelings of trust, safety, and deep social connection. It's the hormone that bonds a mother to her child. It's what makes you feel that warm, calm, secure glow when you're with someone you truly trust. Dopamine says, "This feels good for me." Oxytocin says, "This feels good for us." Your first life was a frantic chase for dopamine. Your second life is about cultivating the calm, steady warmth of oxytocin. You don't get there by performing for approval. You get there by daring to be vulnerable. This creates a powerful new paradigm for your social life. Your authenticity is not a magnet designed to attract everyone to you. That's an approval-seeking fantasy. Instead, your authenticity acts as a filter. When you begin to show up as your real self, something miraculous happens. You will naturally, and often without any conflict, begin to repel the people who are not a match for you. The people who are only in a relationship with your mask will lose interest. The people who need you to be a doormat to feel powerful will get frustrated and drift away. The people who can only connect on a superficial level will find you too intense and seek out other performers. At first, this filtering process will feel like rejection. Your amygdala will scream, "See, I told you, we're being cast out." But if you can stay grounded in your inner compass, you will realize this is not a loss. This is a gift. You are not losing people, you are losing your audience. You are making space. Because on the other side of that filtering process is something even more miraculous. By showing up as your authentic self, you become a beacon for your people. The ones who share your values, the ones who get your weird sense of humor, the ones who are not looking for a performance but for a real human being. They have been looking for you just as you have been looking for them, but they could never find you because you were hidden behind your mask. Authenticity is the signal that allows your true tribe to find you. So how do you practice this? Start small. You don't need to confess your deepest secrets to everyone you meet. Just practice small, daily acts of authentic expression. Instead of entering a conversation thinking, "What can I say that will make them like me?" which is a performer's mindset, enter it with the mindset of a curious scientist. Ask yourself, do I actually like this person? How do I feel in their presence? This simple shift moves the center of gravity from them back to you. You are no longer auditioning for a role in their life. You are deciding if you want to offer them a role in yours. Practice by sharing a small, honest opinion. When a colleague asks what you thought of a movie and your impulse is to give a generic, agreeable answer, pause. Share what you really thought, kindly and respectfully. "You know, it wasn't really for me. I found the plot a bit slow." That's a tiny act of vulnerability. You're revealing a personal preference. When you're with a friend and they ask how you're doing, and your automatic script is to say, "Fine, busy," try a slightly more authentic answer. "Actually, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed this week." You are offering a small window into your real emotional state. Each time you do this, you are sending out a small bid for a real oxytocin-based connection. Some people won't respond. They'll change the subject or look uncomfortable. That's just the filter working. It's valuable data. But some people will lean in. They'll say, "Oh, I felt that way about the movie too." Or, "I'm sorry you're feeling overwhelmed. Tell me about it." And in that moment, a real connection is born. The mask is off, and two human beings are actually meeting. This is the beautiful paradox. The fear that kept you performing for your entire life, the fear of being alone, was an illusion. The performance itself was the true source of your loneliness. By having the courage to be authentic, to risk the disapproval of some, you open yourself up to a level of connection and belonging that the people pleaser inside you could never have even imagined. You might end up with a smaller circle, but your circle will be solid gold. It will be your tribe. And for the first time in your life, you will know the profound peace of being truly, completely, and unapologetically home. You are now equipped. You understand the trap, you have forged the compass, you can set the boundaries, you have the blueprint, and you know the path to true connection. All that is left is to step fully into this new existence and make it your own, every single day. That is the final step on our journey, making your second life not just an idea, but a lifelong reality. We have traveled a long way together. I want you to think back to the person you were when you first started listening to this audiobook. Think about the quiet anxiety that hummed beneath the surface of your days, the exhaustion of the performance, the weight of all those invisible judges, all those gatekeepers living rent-free in your mind. You stood at a doorway then, looking from the life you had, your first life, towards the possibility of something else. A life of freedom and authenticity that felt distant, maybe even impossible. Look at where you are now. You are not the same person. You have done the work. You have turned on the lights in the dark rooms of your own mind. You have faced the outdated programming, the addictive chemistry, and the inner critic that kept you trapped. You have taken the brave and necessary step of looking at your life with radical honesty. And now you are standing at that same doorway, but something has profoundly changed. You are holding the key in your hand. You now possess a complete toolbox for a new way of living. Let's take a moment to lay out the powerful tools you have assembled. First, you have the X-ray vision to see the approval trap for what it is. You understand that your need to please is not a character flaw, but a piece of ancient, tribal software running on your modern hardware. You can see the hand of your amygdala, your primal alarm bell, and you no longer have to mistake its panicked signals for the absolute truth. This knowledge alone is a revolution. Next, you have become a mindful chemist. You understand the addictive pull of the dopamine hit that comes from praise and the painful push of the cortisol flood that comes from disapproval. You can now observe these chemical tides within you without being swept away by them, labeling them for what they are: temporary, biological events, not a verdict on your self-worth. You have unmasked the ghost in the machine. You have met your inner critic, given it a name, and learned its secret: that it is a misguided bodyguard trying to protect you with cruel and outdated methods. You now have the power to notice its voice, thank it for its concern, and calmly assert your own authority, choosing the path of self-compassion over self-criticism. You have conducted the approval audit. You have dragged your personal gatekeepers out of the shadows and into the light, revoking the unconscious power you gave them over your life. You see with perfect clarity whose applause you have been seeking, and you have made the conscious choice to become your own audience. Most powerfully, you have begun to forge your inner compass. You have started the work of self-validation, learning to close the loop on your own accomplishments, to use evidence-based self-talk to counter the critic, and to grant yourself emotional sovereignty. You are learning to generate your own sense of worth, to fill your own bucket from the inside. This compass is the tool that will keep you oriented to your own personal north for the rest of your life. You have learned the art of the no. You have reframed boundaries not as walls of rejection, but as user manuals for healthy relationships. Armed with the simple sandwich technique, you have a practical script for stating your needs with clarity, kindness, and strength. You have learned to stand as a calm anchor in the inevitable fallout. You understand that when others push back against your boundaries, it is a sign of the system changing, not a sign that you are wrong. You can withstand their guilt trips and their anger, not by fighting back, but by holding steady, knowing that the fallout is a filter, clearing a path for the people who respect the real you. You have drafted your authenticity blueprint. By identifying your core values, tuning into your intuition, and clarifying your personal mission, you have built a new internal guidance system for making decisions, ensuring that the life you build is a true and honest reflection of who you are. And finally, you have discovered the great secret of true connection. You know now that the performance of fitting in was the very thing creating your loneliness, and that authenticity, expressed through courageous vulnerability, is the only path to the deep oxytocin-fueled belonging your soul has always craved. This is your toolbox. It is powerful, it is complete, and it is yours forever. But here is the final, most important truth you need to hear. This toolbox is not for a project that you finish once. Your second life is not a destination you arrive at, where all the work is done and you can finally rest. Your second life is a practice. It is a daily, moment-to-moment choice. It is like learning a new language. At first, you will be clumsy. You will have to consciously translate in your head. You will forget the vocabulary. You will slip back into your native tongue of approval-seeking because it is familiar and easy. This is not failure. This is part of the process. There will be days when your inner critic is loud and convincing. There will be moments when you say yes when you meant to say no. There will be times when you find yourself anxiously checking your phone for validation. When this happens, you have one job: to notice without judgment, and then to gently and kindly choose again. You simply say to yourself, "Ah, there's the old programming. Interesting. Now, what does my inner compass say? What would be the more authentic choice for me right now?" Every time you do this, you are strengthening the new neural pathways. Every time you choose the new path, you make it a little easier to choose the next time. The practice is not about being perfect. It is about being present. It's about the gentle act of returning over and over again to the home base of your own truth. So what does this practice look like? What does it feel like to live this second life day in and day out? It feels like quiet. It is the sudden, startling absence of the constant chattering committee in your head debating your every move. It's a newfound space between your thoughts, a mental clarity you may have never experienced before. It feels like a physical release. It is the sensation of your shoulders dropping an inch away from your ears. It is an unclenching in your jaw and your stomach you didn't even know was there. It is the feeling of breathing deeply and easily because you are no longer braced for the next judgment. It feels like freedom in the smallest moments. It's the simple joy of ordering what you actually want at a restaurant without worrying if it's the right thing. It's wearing the clothes that make you feel like yourself, not the clothes you think will impress others. It's listening to the music you love unapologetically. It feels like a deep and steady confidence in your decisions. Not a loud arrogance, but a quiet conviction. You will still seek advice, you will still listen to others, but you will no longer be swayed by every passing opinion. You will feel your feet firmly planted on the ground of your own values, your own blueprint. It feels like a profound shift in your relationships. It is the peace of knowing that the people in your life are there because they love the real you, not the character you used to play. It is the joy of laughing with a friend, your guard completely down, and feeling truly seen. It is the deep intimacy of being vulnerable with a partner and being met with love. This is the life that has been waiting for you on the other side of that door. A life that is not free from problems, but is free from the prison of pretense. A life that is not without fear, but is no longer governed by the fear of disapproval. A life that is authored, chapter by chapter, moment by moment, by you and you alone. You have walked through the science, the psychology, and the strategy. You have all the tools you need. The theory is over. The rest of your life is the practice. The great secret is that you do not need anyone else's permission to begin. You don't need a certificate. You don't need an external authority to declare you ready. The only person whose approval you ever needed to start this journey was your own. And you have it. So take a deep breath. Feel the solid ground beneath your feet. Your second life doesn't start tomorrow or next week or when you finally feel perfect at this. It doesn't start when everyone in your life finally understands and agrees with the new you. It starts in your very next choice. The next time you choose to listen to your inner compass over the noise. The next time you set a small boundary. The next time you offer a quiet moment of self-validation. Your second life starts when you stop seeking approval. And you can stop right now. Welcome. Welcome to the rest of your life.